What is happening, everybody, and welcome to another Stochastic NBA Live Before Lock. It is going to be a good one. I am here joined by my dear friend, Eric Lindquist, to break down potentially the last game of the conference finals. The Nuggets are going to be in the finals. Who are they going to be playing, though? Is it going to be the Heat? We could find out tonight. Or are the Celtics going to extend the series another game? Pretty big favorites tonight. Boston favored by 8.5. So we'll definitely be diving into that. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Sleeper, who is sponsoring our show today. So I'll be talking more about Sleeper in a little bit. They are a pick'em site, and over 0.5 points for Jason Tatum. They're available as a free square. That seems pretty interesting to me. So definitely something we're going to want to talk about a little bit later in the show. Eric, what's going to happen in this game tonight?
I have absolutely no idea. All I know is that 8.5 is a big number for a team that's, I don't know, it's 3-1 and pretty positive that the Miami Heat have been playing pretty darn good basketball here of the last week, 2 weeks, pretty much the last month. So it's a weird reaction. I knew this was going to be the line based on what we saw in games 1 and game 2. In fact, game 2, it moved to 9.5 just about everywhere. So it is going back to Boston. It's going to be entertaining, but I don't know how you don't take the points here.
I'm on the same page as you, and this Heat team, I've been talking about it on other shows. I've talked about it with Neil. I haven't really talked about it with you yet. It's so hard to know what to make of them because this was a fairly mediocre team in the regular season, barely got into the playoffs via the play-in game. And then we get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, it's like they flipped a switch and they became a totally different team, and they've looked great in the playoffs. But it's how much do you weigh what they did in the playoffs versus what they did in the regular season? And at least coming into this series, books were looking at this as the Heat from the regular season more indicative of who they are than what they've done in the playoffs. So like you said, that's why we saw game 1, the Celtics closed, I believe, as 9-point favorites. Game 2, they closed as 9.5-point favorites. They lose both those games. Books still believed in the Boston Celtics. So we go on the road in Miami for game 3. The Celtics end up being favored by 3.5 points in that game. They lose outright. And what ends up happening, the books go, you know what? We're done with this. We don't believe in the Celtics anymore. We're on board with the Heat. They make the Heat favorites in game 4. Boston wins via blowout, and we're right back to where we are in game 1 with the Boston Celtics being big favorites. I don't really know what to make of this team, but it looks like the books are saying that they think the Boston Celtics are a considerably better team as of now, favored by 8.5. I'm with you, though. If I have to take a side, I'm going to be siding with the Miami Heat on the points, but it's hard to have any real confidence considering the games have been so different from game to game. So it's a tough one to know what to make of.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's just, well, 8.5 is just a large number for these have all been competitive games. We've had some weird game script in a couple of them, but that just speaks to, like, once again, why wouldn't you be taking the points in this kind of a scenario? Hard to back Boston at an 8.5 kind of a number. It's pretty clear cut to me that, yeah, you're going to see it's an elimination game the rest of the way for Boston. You're going to see 42 plus minutes from Jason Tatum, from Jaylen Brown, perhaps. You know, we saw a blowout towards the end of that one, and I think that's kind of what changed up some of the minutes. And I think that's kind of what makes today's showdown slate so much fun, is that it's hard to know exactly what to make of Al Horford foul trouble, of 29 minutes from Grant Williams on that side. And then what do we do in relation to Gabe Vincent? And now with Max Strus playing 36 minutes, and what does his role look like? What are you going to see from from Caleb Martin? 35 minutes from him. Kyle Lowry, going to be an important talking point too. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we certainly will. And then the other thing too that we didn't even mention is that Malcolm Brogdon's apparently pretty messed up right now. So
Oh God, how is he not on the injury report?
That is a really good point that I hadn't really.
How is he not on the injury report?
That is true. Like the team has openly said that he has what seems to be
ligaments.
If I'm not mistaken, if he's a pitcher, he's getting Tommy John surgery. It looks like they're saying this is a UCL
he has the
injury.
Brock Purdy injury.
And as a result, I mean, his usage is clearly down. Like you just look at the last two games, he has a 15.5 and a 16.6% usage rate the last two games. His minutes have also dissipated. So this is something he's struggling to play with. And then as a result, you get other guys on Boston, Derek White, Grant Williams. Those are the two guys that are benefiting the most from a playing time perspective. So we've seen, the Celtics just really have to change what they're doing. And a couple of games ago, it seemed really weird where it's like, what are they doing with some of the minutes here where they had, Grant Williams guarding Jimmy Butler, and that wasn't really going particularly well, and they're just sticking with him. And it just seems that like Malcolm Brogdon's not really available to play at the way he normally would. So he's going to be somebody that's difficult to really trust in any kind of way. And then we've got Gabe Vincent out for the Heat, which Jordan and I were talking about a little bit before. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think Gabe Vincent's impact or his absence has much of an impact on who I expect to win the game or anything like that, but it is going to matter for DFS purposes. But is Gabe Vincent somebody that you view as like a massive points mover in any way?
No. Not in any way, shape, or form. I think Kyle Lowry's been more than serviceable, and I think there's been some unsustainable shooting from Gabe Vincent throughout the series. Now, it came down to earth in some kind of a way, 1 for 4 from 3, still 5 for 10 from the field, 6 for 7 from the line. But I will say that I think you put in Kyle Lowry for extra minutes, you put in Caleb Martin, I think it still looks pretty similar.
All right, and let's start breaking it down. And I think where we should start, at least from a DFS perspective, is actually with the super chat we have, because we have a super chat that was already sitting here waiting for us before the show started from Michael Bernier, who's saying that he has 100% of Grant Williams and Lowry.
Oh,
is that too much? Well, there's no way to say it's too little, right? If we're gonna play the different scales, too much, too little, or just right. So it depends how many lineups you're playing. Like if you're playing 2 lineups and you Lowry and Grant Williams in both of them, that's not an issue to me. These are 2 of the players I get the most exposure to when I build out lineups. If you're playing like 20 plus lineups and you have 100% of them, yeah, it's too much. I need a little bit more context, but individually, I think they're both really strong plays.
Agreed. They're strong plays, but also we're going to get into the Grant Williams conversation because I am shorting him pretty severely today, like very severely today. I do not believe that those minutes are going to be what we see going forward. We have them projected for 26.7 minutes. I'm on the drastic opposite side of that. I think there's a couple of things that are being overstated from what we saw in game 4, and also Al Horford's impact on the game despite foul trouble. And do you know who led the Celtics in plus minus? I guess I kind of led into that one, but it doesn't matter.
Celtics in plus minus last game. I don't know off the top of my head. So anything I say would just be a blind guess.
Al Horford. Plus 23. He was in foul trouble, and there were a lot of things that I think just people are overreacting to 29 minutes from Grant Williams, in my opinion.
So here's where I'm going to disagree a little bit, because it's not just one game. The last 3 games, he's played 29, 29, and 26 minutes. It's not Al Horford, who I think we're seeing Grant Williams take minutes from. I think it's Malcolm Brogdon because of the Brogdon injury.
I get that. I think that makes sense. 17 minutes from him last game. Again, if you have something torn in your elbow, if you have a Brock Purdy injury coming into this one, it makes sense that you're going to just play Grant Williams because there's really nobody else that you want to be giving minutes to. I mean, Sam Hauser ain't it. You're not looking at Muscala Cornett unless it's complete blowout. But I think Grant Williams still 29 minutes. I don't know. It feels as though people are just jamming him. It feels a little bit uncomfortable considering the man wasn't in the rotation a week ago. And I know that things have changed. I know that it's drastically different, but I think that you get into a spot where it's competitive here. I still think that starting unit of Tatum, Horford, Smart, White, Brown that we saw last game was very, very effective. and Grant Williams showed up. Al Horford was in foul trouble. Robert Williams came on the floor towards the beginning of that fourth quarter, was pretty effective too. I still think Al Horford plays more minutes, and I think that I have to be trimming Grant Williams' minutes down as a result of that. I think Brogdon, again, I don't know what to make of it. It feels like a little bit of a wild card, but it's not like Grant Williams is some amazing fantasy point per minute player. And so I expect him to, based on what we saw last game, be extremely popular again, based on our projections, everything else. I find it tough for me to be getting to the field on him today.
Which also is he's let me refresh your ownership to see what the most recent number is. But he's super, super popular today. And just going to once again refresh to make sure I'm giving you guys the most recent up-to-date info we have. And
I mean, DK, he's 2,600, so I get why he's popular, but that makes me want to get away from him all the more.
He is projected for 37% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he is projected for not quite as popular on FanDuel. Yeah, 18.5% ownership on FanDuel. But with that said, he's 8,500 on FanDuel. It is a fairly steep price point for the way that FanDuel goes. But just based on what you said, I'm going to make a
counter argument.
No, I'm not going to make a counter argument. I'm just going to make an observation. I'm going to say that you are probably playing a lot of Al Horford in your lineups then.
He is my biggest point of like, I'm going to be cheering for him above everybody else in the game. Yes.
Yep. I mean, if you are going to assume that the minutes aren't going to be there for Grant Williams, the same as they've been the last few games, it would make sense to be heavier on Al Horford. And over the course of the regular season too, how often were we playing Grant Williams versus Al Horford? The answer to both of them was not that often in DFS, but certainly more of a lean towards Al Horford than Grant Williams from what we saw in the regular season. Like you said, Grant Williams is out of the rotation not too long ago. I do think Grant Williams, just from a projection standpoint, is one of the better value plays on the slate, but I'm not going to say that I think his minutes are guaranteed. I just tend to think that he's going to get a lot of those Brogdon minutes, but we'll see. Maybe Brogdon will feel better today and he'll just be getting more minutes. That's also a possibility, but let's look at.
But I mean, here's the thing is it's like, we're now in game 5. The first game that went well for the Celtics was game 4. And Al Horford had the best plus minus, shot the best he had shot from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, 4 for 7 from the field. He was really effective and ended up playing a lot fewer minutes with foul trouble. And I don't know what to make of it entirely, because you look at 25 minutes from him, 22 from Robert Williams. I still think you have to be trimming some of them from Grant Williams, because I still think they'll go to some Horford Williams lineups. And that's where, for me, I just have to be playing a guy like Al Horford, who I project for 30 plus minutes, and it seems like nobody else does, he's going to be my major point of leverage on today's slate.
I don't have any issue with that. I think that definitely makes some sense. I could definitely see a path where Horford plays more minutes and that takes away from Grant Williams. We got a follow-up from Michael Bernier, 20 lineups. Thank you. I would not play 100% Lowry and Grant Williams across 20 lineups. I
would not either. What a super chat answer you got there. How about that? Let's dive on in.
I wasn't asking him to leave another super chat. It was just I was kind of throwing out just, how many lineups do you have? And I thought maybe throw it in YouTube chat, or I was just kind of laying out, if it's a couple lineups or anything, I wouldn't have 20 lineups. I think 100% of Lowry and Grant Williams, a little bit too much. We've got Lowry actually considerably more popular than Grant Williams. Like, Grant Williams is popular, right? He's 37% owned on DraftKings. Lowry's at 55%, though. When you look at Lowry and his ownership, you said you're going to be undercutting Grant Williams at 37%. Is that the same for you with Lowry at 55%?
No, because, well, what do you make of Gabe Vincent's minutes? What are you planning to do with Gabe Vincent, considering he's freaking out? Well, you're not going to play him. Doesn't Kyle Lowry have to be the guy who plays way more than his what's the minutes upside for a guy we already project for 36 minutes in Kyle Lowry?
The minutes upside is that he plays, 35, 36 minutes. Like, I don't see him playing 40 because I don't know that he's physically capable of that at this point in his career. The last few games he played 27, 28, 17.
Well, and he's thickums. He's thickums, right?
Oh,
that's your problem?
thick as they get. He's as thick as they get. No, the real issue with him is just that he's got shitty hamstrings and he's old. He's got bad knees. So
there you go.
I think he's going to play a lot, and I think he's one of the best value plays on the slate. But I don't expect him to play like 40 plus.
So are you going like? I'm curious about your lineups then too, because again, I'm just kind of piecing together both sides of this, like Miami's minutes, Boston's minutes. Who is your biggest point of leverage on the Miami side?
Let's see. From the Miami side,
because I love Kyle Lowry. I think he's impossible to get away from today.
Kevin Love for me.
Okay. There you go.
So, and also another thing. So like Kyle Lowry, I have him in about half the lineups I built on DraftKings. So like it's slightly underweight, but nothing really significant. But I think Kevin Love is more playing time upside, and Kevin Love is very cheap. He's a decent fantasy producer. He played 12 minutes last game coming off an injury. He had dealing with, was it a muscle strain a couple of games ago? Mm-hmm. But another thing too, I mean, you get the absence of Gabe Vincent. He could just play bigger lineups. If Kevin Love goes out and plays 20 minutes today, I'd rather play Kevin Love in 20 minutes than Grant Williams in 28 minutes.
Yeah, I do not disagree with that. I think Kevin Love's a really sharp type play. I think Duncan Robinson's somebody that I'm also playing a little bit more. I think that there's not a crazy amount of minutes upside, but for me, you look at the ownership currently and you just think about leverage. Right now, the only guys getting less ownership than Duncan Robinson, I don't agree with this Haywood Highsmith ownership, that would be identical to Duncan Robinson. You got Omer Yurtseven, and then it falls off a cliff. Yurtseven's just that 1K player. He closed out last game because, well, apparently they're just not going to put Haslam on the floor no matter what, which is kind of funny. But Kevin Love, 2,200. I don't completely hate it. We also know how good of a fantasy point per minute guy he can be, 1.02 over the course of this season, right around 1 with the Miami Heat. I feel pretty good about that being a pretty decent stand where if he ends up playing 18 minutes, you probably need him.
Yep, and he's super cheap. He's a good fantasy producer. It's, we've seen Kevin Love be popular in this series. He just happened to get hurt a couple of games ago and people kind of got off him, but then his minutes came back the next game. So Kevin Love, really good fantasy producer. And yeah, I think he's just being a little bit underrepresented by the field. Now, I'm not going to say he's unowned or anything like that, but on a 1-game slate, when somebody's 28% projected owned at 2,200, that's not crazy popular. It's a number that I'm well overweight to. So that's going to be my guy from the Miami Heat to answer your question.
I like it. I kind of like it. I also like that he's in the same range as Grant Williams. So now my brain's thinking. Now I'm thinking.
There we go. That's what we're trying to do.
It's a first for everything. I'm thinking.
Thinking. If anybody has questions for us in Discord, at me, and I could answer any questions you have. I'm checking that right now. And yes, we do have some. So the first question that we have in here is from Trouble35. Trouble wants to know, what are the 2 captains you'd play in 20 max that I wouldn't play in single entry?
Let me get that right. So the 2 captains I would play, I wouldn't play in single entry. Let me just throw this out there because, Gabe Vincent was optimal, back-to-back games now in the captain spot. I would say the one that I wouldn't play in single entry that I have in large field, because my single entry, I still have Jason Tatum in the captain for tonight. I'm looking at my $4 lineups. I'm looking at the I would say the one I'd lean towards that I wouldn't have in single entry is Derek White. I would not possibly in a million years put Derek White in my single entry lineup, but I think there's a case to be made at his price point of 7,800. Now that he's back in the starting lineup, now that he was pretty serviceable there, played 28 minutes. I think Derek White's probably the right answer. How about you?
Tatum and Butler. They're going to carry almost all of the ownership in single entry. I'd play anybody else at captain over them and just be contrarian.
I'm still playing Tatum and I'm not playing Grant Williams.
But if I'm playing one lineup in a single entry today, Tatum's going to be 40% on, and Butler's going to be 30%. I'd just rather play anybody else in single entry.
I have a Bam lineup that I really like. I might be doing that then. You're talking me into doing everything that I wasn't planning on doing. This is going to go well.
The other thing too is the nature of his question is if I'm playing 150 lineups or 20 lineups, I'm getting exposure to Tatum and Butler in the captain for sure. If
Right.
I'm building one lineup, the way that I like to build one lineup, if I'm hand building a lineup for a showdown slate on DraftKings, I'm playing somebody contrarian. And so in that case, I'm going to, maybe Derek White, maybe Kevin Love. Derek White at 3% ownership, Kevin Love at 2%. So that's where I'm at. I just don't want to play the super chalky guys in a single entry contest because I don't want to dupe with a ton of people.
I don't wanna. Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna go with this one then. I'm gonna go with my BAM lineup as my single entry, and then I can blame you. So I kind of win twice.
There we go. You can't lose now. You can't lose. You can only win because either you win or you lose and you blame me. Yeah. Win-win for you.
It's like Jordan Klein going out to dinner. You know for a fact that he's not picking up the check. So it's just a win-win for Jordan Klein to show up and like live. Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's chill. It's chill. Do bro, chill.
And then if the food's no good, he's going to complain that you made him get food he didn't like.
Oh, no, Eric, no, I didn't want this sushi. I wanted the other sushi. I wanted the $300 sushi. This tastes like poor people's sushi.
Yes, you have to pay for it. Next question here is from TKO730. He wants to know Caleb Martin and Kevin Love or Duncan Robinson and Derek White for cash. For cash.
I mean, Duncan Robinson and cash that's a tightrope, my friend.
Yeah, these are not the cashiest of cash options. I'll say Caleb Martin and Kevin Love. Like Duncan Robinson. I think,
honestly, this is probably the easiest cash day that we've had of this entire series. If you're planning on building the optimal, like if you just go to Stochastic and you crunch, let me make sure it's the same lineup so that I'm not speaking out of turn. But it's the optimal is the easiest thing ever. It has Grant Williams and Kevin Love in it, and then Jason Tatum and the captain, and then it should be very obvious who else is in that lineup.
Duncan Robinson's a good large field tournament play. He is not a cash game play today.
Correct.
He's not a cash game option. The next question we have here is from DraftKings. DraftKings wants to know favorite single entry captain on DK. Yeah, so I laid out a couple of them that I liked before. I'm gonna stick the same Kevin Love. If I'm playing one lineup in a single entry, I'm going to play Kevin Love in the captain there.
Let me do the Kobe White on draft day. Wow, bro. Wow. Wow. Who was it that got drafted on that one?
It was Cam Johnson.
It was Cam Johnson. You're right. Wow, bro. Wow.
He sounded like the aliens from Toy Story.
He did. The car. Yeah. A little bit of that. That's a good call. Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo was my answer because I was debating between a Jason Tatum and a Bam Adebayo lineup, but now I can't resist the urge to like blame Greg if Tatum goes for 80 and nobody else does.
Hey, I think that's good. But the other thing too, though, with some of these contests, if Tatum goes for 80 and Butler goes for 60, pretty good chance neither of them the optimal captain. You go cheap at captain anyway.
Correct.
Those are the lineups for me personally that I have been most successful with in the time I played Showdown. Is I'm going with somebody unique who's cheap at captain that enables me to get up to the stars. I'm just kind of on a different lineup build than other people.
I do not hate that in any way, shape, or form. Plus, for me, I mean, it's a math equation to a certain extent with Showdown, and it's always fun to, win a large amount of money. But I am a big fan of avoiding duplication where you can. And the main reason that I was planning on playing this Tatum lineup is it leaves 1,200 on the table. But as I'm going through it, I should probably be opting a different direction. I think the easiest way to do that, Bam Adebayo, he's now going to be my captain. I'm still leaving 600 on the table with this lineup, so I'm pretty set with it.
3, Windy 1, City 2 wants to know Love or Robinson in his final utility spot. I prefer Kevin
Love. Let's see. Yeah, I prefer Kevin Love still.
And also, it's going to be...
Wait, who did you say between the two? Sorry, I was
Kevin Love or Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, definitely Kevin Love. Definitely Kevin Love. I like Duncan Robinson. He's somebody that I'm taking a pretty large stance with too, as well. I like getting to some of the cheapies. I'm basically playing all the sub 4K players that are not Grant Williams and just hoping Grant Williams doesn't ruin my life, because I could see him being 50+% in the utility today based on 29 minutes last game. I think that's a very real possibility.
Then Michael Burtner wants to know, Greg, why not Williams instead of Love at captain? Just because Grant Williams is going to be really popular today?
Yep, he's going to be super popular. Get ready, because again, it's very hard to quantify how popular it's going to be. I will eat chalk again on this stream if he ends up being 34%. He's going to be more popular than that in the utility.
What is the upside in what you just said?
I don't know. Chalk is just like basically salt compressed. It didn't taste like all that bad.
Yeah, I find that unlikely. I've never eaten it before, but I doubt it tastes good.
It's not good. Been there, done that.
Michael Burney, it's just ownership. He's going to end up being, in my opinion, really popular today. And we've got him projected as fairly popular.
Yeah, he's fairly popular, and it's going to probably be more popular.
The next question that we have in here is from Dre Everyday. He wants to know favorite prop picks tonight. So this is a good time to tie in our sponsor, Sleeper. Sleeper, they have Pick'em, but there's a good chance you guys have seen Sleeper before. If you played fantasy football, you're probably familiar with the Sleeper app. And now they've got Pick'em projections that you could go play over at Sleeper. And one of the easiest ones on the board. How do you feel about the over under 0.5 points for Jason Tatum? Over or under? That one for you, Eric.
Slight lean on the over.
Slight lean on the over. I'm going to go confidently towards the over. Towards the over on Jason Tatum. Also, if you guys have not signed up at Sleeper yet, use the link that we have below, or you could use the promo code Stochastic, and that will get you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit over at Sleeper. So go take advantage of it. Super easy way to make some money over there is, take advantage of that free square. Jason Tatum, over 0.5 points, lock it in. I hesitate to call things a lock. Jason Tatum over 0.5 points, that is a lock. Now, for the other part of this question, what are the other props that we like today? So I'm going to pull up NBA Bet Pro and see what it is that's projecting fairly well for us in our projections. Now, if you guys haven't checked out NBA Bet Pro, we've got a link below that you could sign up. And when you use that link, you can get a introductory trial month. So you're going to get an entire month for $24.95, 30 days of our tool. And it's a really good way to try it out. And it's been really profitable. And I know a lot of you might be saying, but basketball season's ending. Don't worry. This includes projections for basketball and baseball, $24.95 for 30 days. So go take advantage of that if you guys want to get access to the projections that we have over in BetPro. So our number one prop of the day, Eric, I have a feeling you're not going to like this one, but it is a fairly low, it's a
Grant
Williams
low number. Something or another, probably.
But I think this also might help one of your other stances. The over-under for Grant Williams rebounds is 3.5, and it's plus money towards the over. So we project the over as being our top bet right now in BetPro. I know you're not super high on Grant Williams, but when the over-under is 3.5 rebounds and it's plus money towards the over, number one, does this make you feel a little bit better about your stance that Grant Williams is a little bit over-owned based on how he's priced in the betting market? And then is that number low enough to where that particular way to play Grant Williams makes you feel good?
Yeah, I would say just knowing that books are projecting it right around that number, that's got to feel all right. Knowing, again, he could get to 4 rebounds as long as he doesn't put up 10 points. I'm probably in a really good spot. I think shorting his points would make some sense too. It looks like NBA Bet Pro does like the plus money on his over 1.5 threes. I mean, that's just, it's plus money pretty heavily, plus 135 in that regard. That is a decent enough spot for me. I don't think it makes me feel any sort of way. I think both of those probably do grade out pretty well, considering the plus money attached to it, the even money attached to the rebounds. I mean, I've currently got him for 6 points, 3.4 rebounds. So again, it looks like it's pretty darn close in line with what I've got. And NBA Bet Pro, I mean, we're talking about Steve Buzzard, Eddie Lai, Alex Baker. We're talking the smartest guys in the space, period, for DFS, for betting, for everything else. I'm not going to be questioning anything that I'm looking at on this screen.
And then one other one that stands out to me is, where'd it go in here? It was here. Jaylen Brown over 5.5 rebounds. I know Jaylen Brown's largely been dog shit in this series, but I like Jaylen Brown to potentially bounce back. Jaylen Brown, 5.5 rebounds, really low prop. And then some of these games too, they've been so, like even last game, the Celtics win and they win by a ton of points. There's been a lot of weird circumstances in this game. In a competitive game, I think Tatum plays over 40 minutes, Butler plays over 40 minutes, and Jaylen Brown plays over 40 minutes. We just haven't seen competitive games as of late. Give me over 4.5. Give me over 5.5 rebounds for Jaylen Brown today. So those are some of my favorite props of the night. And thank you for the question. Who was it that asked us that? Dre Everyday. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next question we have here is from Boss Bro. Boss Bro wants to know, going to play a little DK today. Favorite large field 150 max captains?
Bam Adebayo, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler. So we'll just put the top 4 in there. You could very serviceably make a lineup with any of the studs here. But then I'll throw in Max Strus, who I've been vehemently against for these playoffs. I don't know how you don't like him coming off of 36 minutes, considering you're going to get a lot of popular pieces in Kyle Lowry, Grant Williams, other guys this slate. And I am on the Kyle Lowry side, not on the Grant Williams side. So I'll throw Max Strus into the mix. We know he can get ungodly hot from time to time and spike that upside. And looks like he's not really getting any kind of prominent captain ownership. And then, of course, I have to go to him because I've just got such a large stand on him today. Al Horford is going to probably make or break my day.
Yeah, let's see. So we've talked a bunch about captains. My 2 favorite are Derek White and Kevin Love relative to what their ownership is.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Lowry starting officially.
Yeah, there we go. So starting lineup here, let's read these off. Starting lineup for the Celtics is Smart, White, Brown, Tatum, Horford. So for anybody who thought maybe the Celtics would mix up their starting lineup again, because they have done that a lot over the course of the postseason. They are starting the same players as last game. And then the Miami Heat, Lowry, Strus, Butler, Love, Adebayo. Now that Lowry is confirmed in the starting lineup, how many minutes do you expect him to play? I know you were talking about his minutes ceiling earlier, but what's like your expectation if you just had to assign 1 minute's projection to him and strike a guess? What would you say is the minutes that Lowry plays tonight?
35 and a half.
All right. I was going to say 36.
Okay. There you go. I mean, I'm undercutting it by half a minute, but I guarantee you I probably have more of him than you do.
All right.
I have nearly 100%.
Yeah. Half my lineups.
Okay. He's in 84% of mine.
Peter Wasaki saying his favorite pick of mine in the postseason was under 9.5 rebounds for Bam, and he scored 17. You don't score rebounds, you grab rebounds, and that was my least favorite.
Oh, look at you being an asshole.
For me personally, that was my least favorite. Maybe he liked it. I didn't like that one. I didn't like it.
Even from South Dakota, I'm closer to you and I can feel it because I can feel your energy. I can feel that it's more of like this.
Yeah.
Like overlaps.
Nice.
Half the country. You're only half the country away, baby.
And next question that we have in Discord is from Trouble35. Thanks, gents. Good luck tonight. When it quiets down, can we get a first bucket pick to put $1 on? Oh, yeah, we can do this for shits and giggles. I have no clue what the lines are for this. By the way, I would never, ever recommend betting this market either. But let's see. I'm just going to pull it up on.
Just as a caveat, you're an idiot. But other than that.
Yeah, never in a million years would I put my own money on this. But somebody else wants me to say what they. But I've seen people. This has become like stupid popular on Twitter. People take. I mean, this is like doing meth for sports betting. People have been betting these markets on FanDuel where it's not only do you bet who will score the first basket, it's also the method they're going to score. And it's like super specific where it's like layup, dunk, jump shot, and the player. Somebody.
So on Friday, I went 4 for 5 on my home run plays. And somebody the next day, I had 3 home run plays, parlayed them for $400. Sent me a screenshot. I was like, you have something wrong with you. I went 0 for 3. Don't worry about it. It was fine.
Man,
here's the thing. If you bet them individually, you're up a lot of money on the course of those 7 home run plays. But yeah, nice little 0 for 3. It was beautiful stuff.
First basket odds here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read these off to you.
Okay. I mean, nothing like a gut feeling to throw in there as opposed to being a data-driven site.
Yeah. I mean, like there's no math for this at all.
All right, I'm ready.
Tatum is plus 350.
If we get this right, though, this goes on social and it lives forever, so it doesn't matter. There's a winning component for it for us.
So do you want to know who the favorites are or the long shots?
I want to know the long shots. I want to get stupid because, like, I think it was Kevin Love, like a mid-range jumper, which is like a very unlikely thing, was the first basket 2 games ago. And then, or was that last game? It might have been last game.
It was 2 games ago.
Okay, it was 2 games ago because that was the one that got parlayed and was just like, somebody lives in the future. No big deal. It was like a pretty large quantity of money too, from what I remember.
Yeah, somebody won like it was like $80,000 betting on like the first basket to be like Kevin Love as a jump shot. Anyway, for today, Marcus Smart is the longest odds, 13-1.
Okay.
Lowry 12-1. Strus 12-1. Love 11-1. And what I assume your answer is going to be Al Horford 11-1.
Yeah. Here's the thing. How does Al Horford have better odds than Marcus Smart? That seems incorrect to me. That seems broken.
Who averaged more points in the regular season?
Definitely. So I know Al Horford, again, hands up, 9.1 per game. I know he averaged that because I've been staring at his face an uncomfortable amount as I have updated my stuff today. 9.1 points per game is Al Horford.
So we're going to go with, should we say Marcus Smart 13-1 then?
Yeah, let's do it. It's got to be. Just go to the long shot. How does Marcus Smart have worse odds than Al Horford? That makes no sense to me.
By the way, do you know how dumb it is that there's going to be 10 players on the court and most of them are like 5-1, 6-1, 3-1?
Yep.
This is an incredibly dumb market to bet.
It's kind of like the beginning of the season with home run odds. We had 2 weeks where home run odds were unplayable when it was 42 degrees out.
And Marcus Smart is a lock to score the first basket of the game today.
Lock. You heard it here first, baby. Liddy's leans, likes, and locks. This ain't no lean. This ain't no like. Let's go.
Yeah, not a lean.
Not a lean.
Not a lean. Not a like. Goddamn lock. Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, a lock.
Lock it up.
Yeah.
Lock it up for my dungeon, my friends.
Incredibly dumb
Jordan
market.
Klein makes fun of it on the daily now. It's not very nice. South Dakota, we have lighting. We have lanterns, okay?
It's good because, well, so on one hand, I would say it's good because it looks like you're in a bunker, so you're safe from a nuclear holocaust. But at the same time, too, there's no way anybody gives a shit enough to bomb the Dakotas if they're going to go attack. Like, you're safe, right? You're safe if something was to detonate in the nearby area, but nobody's taken out the Dakotas.
Nope. Nobody gives a shit. It's beautiful.
Basti G, who do you guys like as contrarian captains? But we're getting a lot about these contrarian captains today. Derek White and Kevin Love for me today.
Yep. Max Strus talked about him. And then, I mean, Bam Adebayo is less popular than Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum, and now he's my single entry guy, so I'll throw him in.
Swanson 79. Any leans on the over or the under for the total in the game? I do not. Do you?
I have none. No.
Yeah. None.
Pretty efficient. Pretty efficient.
The only lean is Marcus Smart 13-1 for the first basket.
Buddy, lock it up.
So, by the way, I feel like we've painted ourselves in a really good situation with the Marcus Smart thing because because what we've done is we've made it very clear that we think this is a very stupid bet that we would never put our own money on. But you sure as shit better believe we're going to victory lap it if Marcus Smart scores the first basket.
I said 1.5. I said, you clip it, you put it on social. All you need is that 30-second tidbit where we threw out the winner. Marcus Smart. Can we say Marcus Smart 3? I want to know Marcus Smart 3 first basket of the game. That's what I'm here for. You ready?
Right, I'll look it up.
Marcus Smart 3. Get yourself some dollars, people. Get yourself some dollars.
These markets are so dumb. Watch it be like lower
They're
odds
really
and just score the first basket.
It'd be honestly, that would not shock me at this point.
Okay, I want you to guess what the odds are, and it's
okay.
Dumb.
So I have to guess what the actual odds are. I'm not saying what I would set it at, like in the back of my head. I'm guessing it's. You said 13-1 first basket. I'm gonna assume that the way you said that, it's gonna be really close to that. So I'm going to say 21-1.
Not quite that bad, but 27-1. But it's still such a specific outcome. This is I just can't imagine dumber markets to bet. But yeah, Marcus Smart is 27. If you think the first field goal of the game is going to be a Marcus Smart 3, you get 27-1 odds on it, and that's horrific.
This is like something you bet when you go to Vegas and you're playing blackjack with your buddies, and you're like, yeah, I'll split nines.
No, this is something that you bet if you're an idiot. That's the kind of it's
okay. There you go.
There's no amount of substances or any kind of peer pressure that's going to make me bet Marcus Smart 27-1 for a 3-pointer first basket of the game.
That's why I love you. No, I would never. Oh, okay. We'll do that.
Yeah. Just answering some of the questions we have in the Discord here. But yeah, Swanson, I've no leans, likes, or locks on the over-under for the game. One more question from our Discord channel, and then we'll get caught up on the super chats. De Niro wants to know Caleb Martin or Max Strus for utility on FanDuel. Caleb Martin or Maxsters? Let's see.
Caleb Martin.
FanDuel lineups. Both of them are pretty good plays on FanDuel.
Yep, they're both good, but I'd go Caleb Martin. Mainly because threes count a little bit extra when you're talking DK, and I'm looking like for the Inferno outcome for Max Strus. FanDuel, probably more inclined to be running into Caleb Martin.
Yeah, so I actually get more exposure to Max Strus, but it's because he's $2,000 less expensive. Yep. If price is not an issue, then you're going to Caleb Martin at 95.
Correct. Yep. Love that he's coming off the bench once again. Not that it'll matter all that much.
Jamie Moore, Greg saw the Soler home run bet late, and he bet it in mid-game for 11-1. So yeah, I bet Jorge Soler to homer. Actually, this is now 3 times in Coors Field that if you guys are in our chalkboard channel, buddy, totally free to get in. You could get into it by clicking on the link below. Free.
Do you know his WRC plus against lefties?
Very high.
It's best in baseball. I just want you to guess what it is.
Like 240?
Higher.
How many at bats is this, like 30 at bats or something?
I'll pull up FanGraphs while I'm talking about it, because I saw the number against everybody last year, but I want you to oh my god, it's so much dumber than what you could possibly think of.
420
left on left. No 328.
Okay,
that's so
very,
dumb.
very anyway,
that's better than Judge last year.
Jamie Moore, love to see it. I did. So I bet Jorge Soler to homer before the game, which was not plus 1,100 odds, but Jamie Moore went out. And so I wonder what part of the game it was you ended up betting it. But there you are. Jorge Soler.
It was a 9th inning bomb, correct?
Yeah, it was in the 9th inning. We've had a bunch of those lately, by the way. And it's really funny too, because it's a lot of them too, where I'm like, oh, well, this bet is lost and I'll stop paying attention to the game. And then we've had, in recent games, there was a Matt Olson one that we hit in the 9th inning. There was the Soler one today, and there was a Christian Walker one also not all that long ago, where it's bets that like I kind of gave up on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it shows up as I won that bet, and then I go look at the box score and realize they homered in the 9th inning. But yeah, sick hit there, Jamie Moore. 11-1 on Jorge Soler to homer. Absolutely love to see it. Love to see it. The other super chat we have here is from 3 Windy 1 City 2. He wants to know Martin or Lowry for DK. That's going to be Lowry for me.
Yeah, Lowry as well.
And that has us all caught up on the super chats. So we've talked about the captains over on DraftKings, but what we haven't talked about, Eric, is if you're playing FanDuel and you're trying to fill out the MVP spot, is your preference to go with Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, or is it somebody else in this game you think could be the highest scoring relative to their ownership percentage?
It's still Jason Tatum in the MVP. I know it's boring. It's just one of those things that you kind of throw by road out there. I will say, though, I was going back through this kind of prepping FanDuel. I have a little bit of FanDuel exposure, not much. I'm primarily focused on DK today. But you remember last slate where we were going through, it was the game 1, I think you and I did the show. And I was going through, it was game 1. Jason Tatum, we had him projected right next to Jimmy Butler. They were within like 2 or 3% of each other. And it almost ended up 2-1 in favor of Jason Tatum. I think coming off of last game, that is definitely something live to happen here in this spot, which kind of makes me want to go Jimmy Butler more. But as I keep running it, I keep running into more Jason Tatum exposure. And then it's the only $500 difference. And I'm getting very different for a couple of these FanDuel lineups. For one, now I have a little bit more Kevin Love. I have a lot of lineups where I'm playing Kevin Love alongside Max Strus, leaving some money on the table. Kyle Lowry's $9K, and I project him pretty close to the likes of Derek White, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, a lot better than them, actually. And I'm just going to be leaving salary on the table. That's the best way to get different on FanDuel. Pretty easy to do that today.
Yeah, and by the way, because so the guy in chat who his name is Love Jesus is making up news. We're gonna hide him from the channel because
it's a slippery slope, Greg.
You don't need to be making up. Listen, I'm just taking him out of the channel because no matter what his YouTube handle is, he's making up news about Malcolm Brogdon. So we've banned him. He's been removed. So Jesus, see ya. You're gone. See ya. It's the only time I mute people or block people from this channel. The only time is if you just make stuff
fake news. Yep.
That's it. It's that.
So many jokes. I'm not going to say any jokes. There's no jokes to be made here.
Yeah. I mean, look at the hair. Come on. Look at the hair. It's not the first time. Malcolm revamped FanDuel. Lowry. Malcolm revamped FanDuel. Lowry at Pro or Bam.
Sorry.
If you have the space to fit, if you have the space to fit Bam in the pro spot, it's Bam over Lowry.
Oh, Hebrew Hammer with the ban hammer. Oh, we don't do enough shows together anymore.
Are you happy to be back on the live before lock?
I missed you all. It's just I'm just gonna let you run with it. It's great. It's great.
So Malcolm, two parts to this question. If you're just playing one lineup and you have the ability to fit either of them in, the answer is going to be Bam Adebayo over Kyle Lowry in the pro spot. But considering the price pool, when I run lineups, I get to so much more of Lowry than Bam Adebayo because Bam is 1,500. Kyle Lowry is 9,000. It's hard to make lineups that look great that have Bam Adebayo in the pro spot because if I'm playing him, he's probably going to be in the star spot, maybe the MVP spot. I just don't get to very many lineups with Bam Adebayo at the pro. How about for you? Like, I guess we can talk about the pro spot in general. If you have lineups built out in front of you for FanDuel, Eric, or if you're just looking at ownership projections, I get to Kyle Lowry the most in the pro spot. Is it the same for you or anybody else stand out?
No, it's pretty noticeable that you're going to get to him the most in the pro. Again, when you start building it out, think about what the chalk lineup looks like. What does the cash game look like? It's pretty clearly going to be a combination of Tatum Butler. There's going to be a lot of lineups that run into Tatum Adebayo or Butler Adebayo. And then what is the next play that's available there that allows you to have those three studs in them? Kyle Lowry, he's sitting at, such a low tag there, 9K. Like, it makes all the sense in all the land that he would carry the most pro ownership. Be projected for a lot of minutes. He's the one stepping into the newest role. That's the biggest change from game 4 to game 5 is Kyle Lowry. There's no reason that he shouldn't be the highest owned in that spot.
Yeah, and the ownership is, pretty moderate. If we look at our FanDuel, the pro ownership is always fairly spread out. It's not like you go to the pro in the same way as the MVP. Like, you're not going to see somebody who's 30 or 40% owned in the pro spot. So our pro projected ownership right now, Smart at 15%, Horford at 13%, Lowry 11%, Brown 10%, Martin 10%, White 8%. It's so spread out, and I just think Lowry is the most optimal considering his upside and what his price point is. 9K is very cheap for him, and he's not all that popular there. So I like Kyle Lowry in the pro spot.
Definitely.
Debuff.
Also, I have 95% Kyle Lowry for all those who want to know.
There we go. Daniel Buffington.
Out of control. Oh.
Daniel Buffington's got a DK question for us. He wants to know Derek White and Time Lord or Smart and Love. Derek White and Time Lord.
Movie. Derek White and Time Lord. So we're talking basketball on DraftKings, are we?
Yeah, basketball. This is a basketball question.
Okay. What are you doing with Time Lord?
I'm a big Time Lord guy in general.
Me too. I have 0% of him though.
The minutes just haven't been there, so it's hard to get. Like, I can't really confidently play Time Lord. I can't confidently play Malcolm Brogdon because even according to some people, he's not playing today. It's not the case, but he's not going to. I can't project Brogdon to play a significant amount of minutes. I can't project Robert Williams to play a significant amount of minutes, so it's hard for me to really get to either of those guys. So I'm going to default to answering Smart and Love.
Yep, definitely Smart and Love. Not close.
Let's see. Were there any other questions in here? No, only about 10 minutes left to go here, guys. So if you've not done yet, do us a favor, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, Sleeper sponsoring the show today. If you haven't signed up there, they have basically a free square. Over 0.5 points for Jason Tatum. Go ahead and take advantage of that. That is going to win today. Guaranteed. Next question here is from Mr. Sledge to You. Mr. Sledge to You wants to know Martin or Love at Captain DK single entry. I prefer Love for single entry.
I prefer Love as well.
Love is all you need. TKO 730. Horford or Martin for DK cash. For cash, you're playing Martin over Horford.
Yep, you are. And I'm playing Horford way more. So there you go.
3 Windy 1 City 2 just says thank you. And yeah, appreciate the questions. I should be thanking you, not the other way around. And the next one here is from King Yusuf. King Yusuf wants to know thoughts on Marcus Smart at captain in large GPPs plays. I feel like he's priced in the mid-range. He will get slept on. Yeah, but kind of for a good reason. So for me personally, and I know that there's been some big Gabe Vincent games lately, I typically don't play a ton of the mid-range guys as captains on DK, especially when they're somewhat popular. Because, Marcus Smart is projected for some ownership. It's 6%. I just like the same with, we got Smart at 6%, Caleb Martin at 6%. I like going, if I'm going to be like contrarian, I'm just going to go more contrarian, more salary savings. That's where I go to like a Derek White. I go to a Kevin Love, and then just opens up more possibilities and less ownership there as well. Marcus Smart, not somebody I have a massive amount of interest in the captain spot. And then also, he is picking up some ownership. I don't think he's going to be totally slept on.
Yeah, there are going to be games where guys like Marcus Smart go completely nuts, and even that negative leverage gets home. Like, that's going to happen from time to time. You're just so much better off playing the leverage game, playing what the math dictates, playing what the tools dictate here at Stochastic. And there's just no way that Marcus Smart's going to be a guy that I get to in any kind of prominent way on just about any one of these slates, so long as he's pulling ownership.
And the next question we have here is from Einsteinium. Einsteinium wants to know, do we have any issue with playing Duncan Robinson and Max Strus in the same lineup on DK? No, I don't think that's an issue.
No, if they were both more expensive, then I would. But Duncan Robinson's what, 38 or 3,600 or something like that?
38 for Duncan Robinson, and Max Strus is 54.
No problem whatsoever.
There we go. Yeah, no issue with that at all. I mean, also there some of these scenarios where, actually, this is kind of an interesting way to look at it. Who are the two players you view as being the most negatively correlated on the entire slate in terms of minutes? So like a guy who it's like, oh, if this guy plays a bunch of minutes, this other guy's kind of screwed.
Bam Adebayo and Cody Zeller.
Okay. That's a good one, actually.
That's the right answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where else.
That really came to the top of my head very quickly, actually.
So the other one too, if we're talking about from like a popularity standpoint, I would say Robert Williams to Grant Williams, right? If they go back to Robert Williams and like, let's say Bam's having a big game and they just go Robert Williams to go defend him, then maybe that means less of Grant Williams. But I think you gave the right answer. The right answer is Bam Adebayo to Cody Zeller. If Bam goes out and plays 44 minutes, then Zeller's screwed.
Yep.
You win.
Thank you. I don't do it often. Very, very rarely do I say something that you agree with immediately like that. So I feel sharp today. That was nice.
Let's see. No other questions coming in. So let's go ahead and look at the slate in a little bit of a different way than what we've talked about. Right. Are there any players outside of Grant Williams, Eric, that you think are just way overowned outside of Grant Williams?
I mean, it's honestly weird to say Haywood Highsmith, but I think that's probably the right one. Mainly because there's a 1K player in Haywood Highsmith, and it feels like everybody's just clicking on him if he's going to be the one pulling 13.4% ownership. I think his chances of seeing the floor is identical to Omer Yurtseven, is identical to Nikola Jovic, is identical to like all Justin Champagne, like all these 1K players. They feel identical outside of Udonis Haslem, who I repeat is just not going to see the floor. Like that's just apparently not going to happen. So I think he's probably the right answer at 13.4%. Probably happy to play just about any other 1K player besides him.
I'm going to agree with you again, Haywood Highsmith. We have him projected for 13.4% ownership. That's really high for Haywood Highsmith, who, number one, I don't think is super, super likely to play extended minutes. He could because they're shorthanded today, but he also sucks, which is another problematic issue for him.
Yeah, it's a tough issue to deal with.
I don't think he's going to get better.
I would rather play Omer Yurtseven, who's at least like a good fantasy point per minute guy, where if you get in garbage time for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something of that nature, he could legitimately put up 10. Like, I don't think there's any scenario where Haywood Highsmith jumps into this regular rotation. And so then Therefore, I just can't play Haywood Highsmith as my blowout run 1K player if he's the de facto 1K player.
Another super chat here from Malcolm Revamp. Malcolm wants to know, Love or Robert Williams at utility for FanDuel cash? Let's see. What do we have going on with their FanDuel ownerships?
What? I don't want either of them in cash, I'm assuming, on FanDuel. Like, FanDuel, you get enough cheapies that, I mean, you're playing Kyle Lowry, you're playing Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler.
Robert Williams is super pop. Well, it's relative, but he's the second most popular utility play on FanDuel. So I'll say Robert Williams.
Okay, I'll say Robert then in that case. I don't have a lot of him on FanDuel for what it's worth.
Yeah, he's the second most popular utility play. The only utility guy that is more popular than Robert Williams is Max Strus. But it's also like the ownership kind of gets stretched out across FanDuel in the different spots. But we've got, Robert Williams is projected for 22.3% ownership in the utility spot. And then you've got Kevin Love, who's the exact same price, which is big. The fact they're the same exact price on FanDuel. Then you got Kevin Love only 11.8% in the utility spot. So I'm going to go with Time Lord over Kevin Love for FanDuel cash purposes. For DraftKings, I think when the salaries are as different as they are, I way prefer Kevin Love. But for just FanDuel cash and what the ownerships are, that's going to be Time Lord.
Yep, agreed.
A few minutes left to go here, Eric. Is there any players or anything about this game that we've not yet talked about that you think we should have covered?
Nope, I think we've done a pretty good job. I feel... God, I mean, I've come around to this Kevin Love play quite a bit. He's showing up quite a bit for me now as I've changed him to around a 16, 18-minute profile. I do think that there's kind of a good case to be made. So you've kind of talked me into that one a little bit. Getting to a lot of Bam on FanDuel for you FanDuel people, I think that's just kind of the leverage that I'm willing to accept. Not Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler showing up in the same lineups in a lot of them for me. I'm only made 25, but I'm trying to get away from that specific build just because I think it'll be duped far more times and it's harder to leave salary on the table. So hopefully Bam Adebayo beats one of the two and I'm probably in good shape.
Yeah, if I just look through the lineups that I've built on FanDuel, just to give you guys out the players I got the most exposure to at each spot, the MVP was Tatum, the star, Jimmy Butler, at pro, Kyle Lowry, and then at utility, the players I got the most of that are players I haven't already mentioned. So Lowry's up there, but then Max Strus, Caleb Martin, really good utility plays over on FanDuel. One guy who's super low owned that I like being overweight to on FanDuel, Duncan Robinson, only 10% owned in the utility.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, only $6,500 gives you a lot of salary savings. It kind of sucks because the FanDuel scoring isn't as favorable for him as the DraftKings scoring, but he's 6,500 and there's just nobody else around that price point that I really like to play. If I look at the 6,500 and lower guys, you've got Duncan Robinson at 6,500 and project for basically no ownership. And then you've got Haywood Highsmith at 6,000, Cody Zeller at 6,500. I prefer Duncan Robinson to Cody Zeller, prefer him to Haywood Highsmith. And the ownership isn't crazy different from Duncan Robinson compared to those other ones. So Duncan Robinson, the guy that I like the most over there. And let me double check to make sure there's no more questions. If you guys haven't done it yet, do us a favor, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If there's no questions, then we're going to be done for the day. And yeah, that does it for us. We are done. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Eric made his return to Live Before Lock, and that in itself is reason to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. Good luck, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Today's Thursday, not Friday.
It is.